that action?
Action.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, guys. So this one's a little bit different. It's just me. Well, on camera anyways. I have an assistant behind the camera helping today. So I don't have my illustrious co-host Jan today. So I'm just going to do the next episode of the soccer series, and I'm just kind of rant about some things. Try to keep up to date. It's hard. I would honestly have to do one every single day, probably twice a day, to keep up with everything, especially with the tournament. Euro's starting, and then, Copa America is about to start. So two tournaments at the same time is a little crazy, but it's a camera. I'll stare at that. Okay. All right. So, first topic.
Champions League.
Okay. So it's been a few weeks, so I'm going to keep it short, but I do have to shout out Real Madrid. I said they would win. They won 2-0, not the huge upset I was kind of predicting from the last soccer podcast, but I mean, I did expect the shutout, and that's what happened. So shout out to them again. Number 15, just, twice as many as any other team. And then, yeah, it's going to keep going. The team's getting better, so it's just going to keep going. What's after that? What's the first one? That was just me, just kind of bragging. But what's the next topic?
Vinny Jr. Ballon d'Or.
Look at you pronouncing it correctly.
Try.
Let's go.
It's not balloon.
It's not balloon. No, Ballon d'Or. So right into that, Vinny Jr. should be winning the Ballon d'Or. He's been super consistent, but I mean, even this past season, just on top of everything, winning the league, big part. Winning Champions League, big part. Again, because he's been the reason we won the Champions League before. So yeah, I mean, the only person that could possibly edge him out would be his own teammate. Jude just had a crazy season, especially being his first season at Real Madrid and being 20 years old. It's kind of nuts to just come into that big of a team at that age and just win everything he won. The only reason he might edge him out, and so for me, it's either who has a better tournament. So obviously the Euro is a bigger tournament, but Vinny's going to be in Copa America. So I mean, let's just say they win it with Brazil, and maybe for whatever reason England and Jude get knocked out in the quarters or something, I think it's pretty safe to say Vinny's taking it by a mile. Now if it's flipped the other way around, I'm not so sure. Jude might have an edge. The main reason I say that is during the regular season, what he did and who he did it to. Do not forget, he was at the top of his game almost the entire season, which is hard to do. And then on top of that, he basically sent Barcelona packing, crying home twice. Same season, 2 El Clásicos, your first 2 El Clásicos. That's a big statement. So, I mean, if Vinny doesn't win it, Jude's the only other person I think even comes close to deserving it. But I won't keep harping on it because then I'm just going to sound like I only care about Real Madrid and their players. But we have the best players in the world, so it's kind of how that works. We have another one.
A little biased.
I'm not, it's hard not to be. But, my jersey shows. I've been a fan for a long time. I have even older jerseys. So, it's not biased just because they're winning. I've been through the worst of times being a fan. And now that we've been on the upper side of winning for several years, sometimes several years in a row, I get to brag a little bit. So, all right, what's next?
Euro 2024.
All right, so Euro 24. All right, so, yeah, I'm expecting Jude to come out big for England. England as a whole struggling a little bit. As of right now, today, Germany has punched their ticket to the next round. and then that's pretty much it tomorrow. I think England does play. So we'll see what happens there. They didn't have a convincing win. But like I said, Jude Bellingham at the core of what did happen. He scored a pretty good header in the first half, and they held that score. The last. I won't go into predictions because we did that in the last one. You can watch that and see kind of who we think is going to end up in the finals and like the third place game and stuff like that. But speaking of one of the bigger teams, we do have France. They had a little bit of issue. Kylian Mbappe confirmed broken nose. He's hit or miss for the next game. I've seen this before. I want to say it was maybe 2010 World Cup. Team USA, Clint Dempsey broke his nose first game of the group stage. He did end up playing the rest of the tournament. I don't think he wore a mask or anything like that, but that's pretty much the norm now in sports. If you can breathe well enough to run, they just put a mask on you and just kind of has like a little bit of added protection. I think that's just the protocol at this point. He's a big reason why France got to this tournament. He somehow, for all his World Cup goals, has managed to never score in a Euro game. But he is going to be important, especially if France wants to go far. The big game tomorrow, I think, is going to be Spain and Italy. Both of them have really strong teams this year. They're both probably, realistically thinking they can go far, at least make it to the finals. So that's going to be a very solid game. It's been a pretty good tournament so far. Very entertaining. My 6-year-old is even watching it. He's cheering for Germany for some reason. Not that they're not good. They're an amazing team, but he chose Germany of all teams. He's not German in any way, shape, or form. But, he knows winners, I guess. All right. What else do we have?
Team USA, Copa America.
Team USA and Copa America. So, I think with all the pressure, especially going into the next World Cup, and they're saying, everyone behind U.S. Soccer saying this is a big tournament, kind of like a springboard into the next World Cup, which is being held partially in the U.S. It's U.S., Mexico, and Canada. They really need to do well. I think everyone kind of undersells it. It's like, they just need to go far in this tournament. Like, no, they should have the mindset of winning. They had 2 warm-up games. One was 5-1 loss to Colombia. Kind of shook that off. Most of the same players played a couple days later. 1-1 game with Brazil. It's, possibly they could face them at some point in the tournament if they both go deep in the tournament. I think they just got to kind of learn from those games and shake them off, but they need to realistically think they can win it. When you boast a team, which not all teams in this region or this side of the world can boast, where all, if not the majority of your starters and even most of your bench players play in Europe, you should be going to international tournaments and saying, we're going to win this. Shouldn't be like, I hope we do well. The goal is to get out of the group stage. The goal is to make it to the semi. No, everyone should be going in, we're going to win this tournament. I think the quality of the players are good. I personally don't like the coach. I think he makes a lot of poor decisions. And I think he makes a lot of decisions based on the fact that he is in charge. And he makes a decision just because he can make that decision and no one can tell him otherwise. It's a little weird. There was, a long time ago, there was a issue after the World Cup, between players, and then they were bringing into him his history and his integrity and stuff like that. They went through this whole thing of an interim coach and interviewing coaches, and they ended up rehiring him. It was just a big fiasco. I think it just took away from the issues of him as the USA coach that were kind of obvious right after the World Cup, but there was a lot of fog in the air, and it was people forgot they rehired him, and the team has to move forward. Love losing my train of thought.
Walk through a doorway.
I gotta walk through a doorway. I didn't walk through a doorway to begin with, so now I'm lost. Yeah, so I personally think they should get a new coach. There's plenty of coaches out there without a job, good coaches, top coaches that I'm sure would love to coach Team USA. But I feel like the reason it has not happened, or maybe why some coaches are hesitant, especially if they're like former coaches or players from Europe, I think they feel like the USA Federation is just not going to give them the reins, more or less. They're going to try to have too much oversight over what they're doing, and kind of how they're going to run the team. And it's, I get it. You want to, it's Team USA, you want to have a US coach, but, there's plenty of teams out there that have coaches that are not from that nation that do well. I don't think it's something you have to do, or, try to force it in there. If someone who wants the job has proven it elsewhere, I say give them a shot. You're not losing anything. The current coach, Greg Berhalter, he's been the coach long enough. We kind of know what we're getting from him. I don't think he's going to magically produce something extraordinary or something different than he has been the past few years. So, I mean, if it's not getting the results that the U.S. should be producing based on the talent and quality, I think it's time for a switch. And the switch isn't going to come from the players. You're not going to start not calling up, guys who play top in Italy, top in Spain, play in the English Premier League. You're not going to not call those guys up. It's the change needs to be made with the coach. So, I think that's enough of me and my soapbox for that. If I haven't made it clear, I'm not a fan of Greg Berhalter, but I will tell you who should take it. I kind of wish they did offer it to him. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But Thierry Henry does coach the youth French team. He played in the U.S. He also coached in MLS in the U.S., so he's aware kind of how the system works here. If you've ever watched his game analysis from Champions League, he's really spot on. Aside from him being a legend of the game and knowing exactly how to get things done, he is very good with his tactical analysis. I mean, I don't know where the next tournament is for the youth teams as far as the international level, but I can't imagine him not getting calls from big national teams if he coaches a youth French side, which has solid players, to, some kind of tournament, some kind of trophy or something. I would love to see someone like him, come in, give a different perspective. I think it's a good crossover. You got a European-based former player that's played and coached in the U.S. and coaching, U.S. players that are predominantly based in Europe. So I think there's more cohesion than people would think. So fireworks. We're in South Florida, guys, so we never really know if it's fireworks or gunshots. That time, definitely fireworks. But the night is still young. You never know. Anything else?
That was all on the list.
That was on the list. Do you have any random soccer questions that you might have from No?
No.
Nothing? You weren't ready?
I wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready. Okay. Maybe next time you'll have some soccer questions.
Do
I
my
can
homework
answer it,
so I
yeah.
can have some questions.
Got it. All right. I think that's it for tonight. See if we can get Jan back. If not, I'll probably just be ranting, staring off into the ether, and you guys can just stare at my face while I rant about soccer. But if not, we'll get Jan on here and we'll have a good time. We'll argue. All right. I think that's it.